All right. Hello, everybody. Let's make sure that all is well. And it is live
Yay.
from Denver. It is Friday night.
That's true.
Welcome to another episode of Critical Conversations, the show where you all get to talk to us.
Yeah.
And where I get to spend a lovely, a wonderful hour with you guys, our critics. You critics out there, we love you guys. And this is where we get to spend an hour live with you each week. And I get to be joined by my beautiful wife, Melissa.
Hello.
And we get to do this show. And I just feel so privileged and lucky and in some ways honored to earn your time and earn your viewership. So thank you. The channel just keeps growing. Which is great. This month there have been 300 new subscribers. It just kind of keeps going, and in the last month period, and and Melissa's back. That's right.
Yes, hello. I'm back from being sick and feeling better.
We are happy.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been quite a time. Just just a lot of pressures. We don't need to get into all the details of it. It's just been, I think all of us feel a little and I really want to have it's the new year, positive outlook. Okay, even though it's not really a clean slate, even though it's not a new thing, even though it's all just in our heads. I mean, there really isn't any real world difference from one year to the next.
But right now it's weird.
But right now it is weird.
I mean, everyone has COVID right now.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we have gone, and this has been impressive because you got sick, but we thought it was COVID.
But it wasn't.
But it wasn't. And then I've been, of course, hanging out here. So I thought maybe, so every time she gets tested, I have to get tested. So we wouldn't get tested, no, it's not COVID. And it's just this weird, I mean, if we're going to acknowledge the realities of some of the weirdnesses of this, it's that, you got these instant tests, but if they tell you, well, if you test positive, you got to double check it with a PCR test or something. And then you might as well just go do the PCR test. And that's going to take you 2 or 3 days to get the results back. And sometimes you got to pay for it, sometimes not. And it's all a big hassle. And it's just, And that's all just to tell if you are sick in the first place and what you got. Anyway, so it's been a little exhausting. And of course, all of that going on top of the fact that I am right smack in the middle now, like right into writing my thesis. And anybody who's been to grad school is going to understand exactly what this process is like. I know you guys feel me when I tell you that this is pressure and problems and a lack of self-confidence and a lack of, feeling like I know what I'm doing like never before. I mean, imposter syndrome all over the place here. How dare I try to pull off some master's thesis and claim I can do some research and talk about it academically? I mean, who the hell am I, right? And all this stuff comes in, and it's just awful. And so my professor is just the best at kind of pumping the air back into the deflated ego and the thoughts that I can't do it and there's no way and this is impossible and what am I thinking and who am I trying to fool? And it's a very different conversation after we kind of sort some of that and get my questions answered and that sort of thing. So we had one of those conversations today, and I'll tell you, I was really happy afterwards, but just exhausted. Oh, you know how it just kind of builds and builds a little bit, and you're just like, oh, I need a day, and that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. So I'm happy to chill with you guys for a little while, not really have an agenda. That's why we did open mic tonight, is let's just see what happens. Let's let people call in and talk about whatever, which we always kind of want anyway, but that's what we officially call the open mic show. And, yeah, you got anything you want to add?
Just trying to get through the new year. It's looking like it might be stressful, so we're hoping for some good things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've had a few. I mean, admittedly, this isn't like some plea for sympathy. It's really just kind of like where our lives are at right now. It's 7 past, and it couldn't have gone better in so many ways, but it's still, it was bad. I mean, it sucked, and it was a real loss for us. And then they raised the rent here, so we can't afford to stay here anymore. So now we got to go find some other place. And right now, believe me, in Denver, that ain't easy.
It's expensive here, real expensive.
Yeah, and we're not looking forward to, to moving and that whole process again. It was torturous last time. It's it's probably not going to be a whole lot of fun this time. And we were really planning on being here for a while longer.
Yeah,
and
I liked it here, but
thank you for that super chat. Cute Steffi. Thank you very much for that. Yes, exactly. Ups and downs are normal. That is exactly right. So, whine, moan, and complain. And now I've had my rant, and I kind of just wanted to share some of that because it always helps when I can get this crap off my chest, So thanks for listening, guys. And no, Red Pill, you don't have to come and stare at me while I'm doing my work or supervise me. I think that's hilarious, but I'm all good. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Henny. Thank you very much for those positive comments. And you're absolutely right. And it's working its way through it. I try to, when I'm not exhausted, when I'm actually, rested and have a clearer view of things, I enjoy these challenges. I enjoy, pushing myself, and I would not take any of this back in a microsecond. This year has been stupendously important for my personal growth and for moving on past Scientology in so many ways and trying to figure out my place in the world and what I'm going to do as I continue forward, right? Because I've exposed so much Scientology. I don't know that there's a whole lot more to expose. I've got a few things left to do, which we've talked about. You guys know it's coming. But after that, I don't have a lot more to say about that, but I got a lot more to say about now, about other cults, about destructive influences, about coercive control, manipulation, even domestic violence I can speak somewhat intelligently about now, as well as human trafficking. I didn't see that coming, and a lot of other stuff that comes into this picture. So don't get me, wrong at all that I'm not pleased as punch to have arrived here, plowed through all the stuff I had to plow through and make it to where I got to. So anyway, thanks guys. Okay, so let's quit going on about that at a mad rate.
Yeah.
I did have some other things I wanted to share with you guys. One is I need to do this right away before I forget. I want to do the workshop thing. Okay, cool. And then we'll get to your quote.
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. So I want to share this. This is an unsolicited, unpaid for. Nobody put me up to this at all. I am doing this on my own bat. Yanya Lalich is a woman who I have interviewed on my podcast once years ago. I'd like to get her back, maybe to talk about this program, actually. She has put together with a couple of therapists. Yanya Lalich, if you know who I'm talking about, she's a professor emeritus. She's a sociology professor, and she was a researcher into destructive cults. She's an acknowledged international expert on the subject, and she's amazing, and she's one of my heroes. And so she has put together a program with a couple of psychotherapists who are also former cult members for recovery purposes. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And I'm going to put the link right now into the comments there. This is the Take Back Your Life recovery. Recovering from cults, coercion, and abusive relationships. So as you can see, we've talked for years about the fact that domestic violence situations and cult situations share the same dynamics when it comes to cult, influence and control and manipulation. So this addresses both of those. So if you want to check out that link, if this is helpful to you in any way, you can check out the coursework or the things they're doing. They just started it this month. And I told them that I would help promote that because it's a cause I believe in, of course. It's right up my alley, and Yanya is somebody that I trust. I've read her work. I've read her books. She knows what she's talking about. And doing this education, we also spent a whole term, there was a whole class on the subject of recovery. Mm-hmm. And we went over recovery programs and treatment programs and how people, can address with therapy individually or in group settings, they're, being under coercive control and recovering from that. So this is one such program, and this wasn't even one that we covered in our coursework. There were other people doing this kind of work too. So, all right. So I got that out there, and that's my plug for Yanya. So you can check that out. And you had a quote.
Yeah. Decided to find a good quote about survival today because that's where I'm at. So this one's from Charles Darwin. It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change.
Oh, let me see that. What was that again?
Now you got to make me open it again.
I know, I suck. Sorry, baby.
Right there.
All right, it's not the strongest nor the most intelligent. Oh, wow, that's a good quote. Mm-hmm. That happens to be biologically absolutely 100% true. That is exactly how that works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, open to change. Hey, you guys are probably going to love the podcast this week, I hope. Fingers crossed. I had this really nice long talk with John Atack this week. We just had the talk yesterday, and it's going up tomorrow. And it's about, that quote reminded me of it because one of the things that we talk about at length in the show is critical thinking. And John had some disagreements on it, and we sorted that out, and it was really great. And in the process of doing that, I got to, and he got to talk about the subject at some length, and we went into facts just like that at the fundamental, at the bottom of critical thinking, if you're going to reduce it all down, if you had to bring it down to one statement, and it's not just this, but if you had to bring it down to the one thing that you would say it is before anything else, it is be willing to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Be willing to ask questions, right? In other words, don't always be satisfied with what you hear or think you know. Right. And in a way, kind of never be satisfied, not in an obsessive way, but in a way that always invites and is open to change, changing your mind, changing your environment, changing your situation. That's what critical thinking, like I said, if I had to bring it down in a completely reductionist way, that's where I would go with that. So great quote on that. Yeah, so I hope you guys will enjoy that podcast tomorrow. Then we go into that, and we also talk about at some length human predators. So we had some fun with that. I don't know, Mel, are we eating enough fiber?
I'm not supposed to eat that much fiber anymore because I have the gastroparesis, so I eat just enough.
Right, that's right. Yes, I'm actually looking at, this is a funny thing. You guys will laugh at this because I do. I laugh right now. I'm still laughing at myself about this. But I've been looking into culinary versions, not Sea Org versions, but actual good versions of beans and rice. Because they are cheap and also amazingly good for you, and you can mix them up and do things with them. So I've been looking into that now that I'm kind of past all the trauma of beans and rice as an enforced punishment meal. I can sort of think with kind of like I did with eggs years ago. It's taken me this long to get to the beans and rice. It took me about 4 years to be able to eat eggs again.
Oh yeah. After
leaving the Sea Org, because the Sea Orgs. Let's just say they had kind of low standards when it came to mass production of scrambled or fried eggs. So, yeah.
If you have it too often, it just gets old.
Well, that's the thing. Exactly, Henny. I would never eat them again. I didn't think I would. But just recently, I've become like, hey, wait a minute. What about that? Because there's like, I like cooking. And so spices and adding things. And, have we told them about the hot sauce? Did we talk about that last week?
I don't know. I wasn't here last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, hot sauces. Yeah, I've been really getting into hot sauces lately.
Yeah,
too.
We got him into hot sauces.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Something new for him.
Big time. Totally. I've been a total anti-spice, not spice as in all spices, but spicy food.
Hot stuff.
Hot stuff, right? I've been anti my whole life. I've never been down with hot, spicy food. I've always gone for the moderate spice, if anything. And now I was inspired by that show Hot Wings or Hot Ones.
Hot Ones, yeah.
Where they have celebrities come on and they have to eat like 10 hot wings in a row with progressively hotter hot sauce on them until they get up to this like insane sauce, this last dab stuff that'll the Apollo pepper.
Real hot.
Yeah, the Apollo pepper. It's the highest one they've got on that show, and now I have had it.
Me too.
Yep, and
it's hot.
I mean, your mouth explodes. It's the kind of hot that stays with you for a while. Like your whole body feels that kind of hot. And But I've been having a lot of fun with it because it's kind of like the RPF. It's kind of like once they give you the worst they can give you, after that, everything else is kind of in a range you can deal with, or at least kind of manage, because you've had the worst that they can have. And so having the hot dab,
Yeah.
So anyway, having fun with that one. Yeah, hot one sounds like porn. I know it's not porn.
It's not porn.
It's eating, I swear, and it's a pretty good show. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Mango habanero. Okay,
yeah.
I'll check that out.
Because
what I'm looking for now actually is anything you guys want to throw in the comments. I'm looking for advice or suggestions for recommendations for tasty hot sauce. I want to have some flavor in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what gets me going now is flavorful sauce, because it actually adds to the experience. It's not just hot for hot's sake. Thank you, Steph, for that awesome super chat. Very appreciated. Awesome. Yes, the spice must flow. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about real fast. Now, our call-in line has been empty this time, and it is open mic night, so I'm going to encourage you guys, despite the fact that we're going on at a mad rate here.
Yeah, call.
Give us a call. And our number, 984-214-4154, if you want to call in and talk to us. I did want to say, I've got a whole Post-it note of talking points for the show, so don't worry. I'm not going to run out of stuff to say. That's kind of a rare thing for me. But this show is about talking to you guys. So if you want to call in and talk to us, 984-214-4154.
What's a song worth like call me, like call me.
Blondie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Call me on the line. I can't sing. Don't make me sing. You don't want that torture. You do not want that. I did want to share with you guys, though, these are academic papers, some that I've printed out here. Adjacent to or part of the research project was getting down and dirty with police interrogations, because I make the point in my paper that Scientology confessionals or Scientology sect checking is more akin to police interrogation. This is the big reveal. I'm giving it to you guys right now, right? The big reveal is, hey, guess what? Hubbard laced his lectures with coercive control framework that gets people into a headspace where they accept abuse as necessary. It's important and necessary that they be abused. This is the headspace they get into because Hubbard lays out this whole framework of that. But the sect checking process, the procedure itself and the way it's carried out is actually more analogous to a police interrogation than it is to a Catholic confessional or any other form of religious confessional. And that's one of the points that I make in my paper. So I'm not publishing my thesis. I will probably post it up online somewhere on my blog or something after it goes up, but after I turn it in. But it's not going to be publication material. However, the research that I've done in the paper will be the basis for a publication I'll do or video work that I will do breaking this stuff down, because I've got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a big paper, and there's real research that I did, and I can go over all that. So, but more importantly, this police interrogation stuff is pretty much an episode all by itself. I mean, this stuff is insane. What they've been getting away with for years. Oh my God. Anyway, I wanted to know if you guys wanted to do a show on that sometime, because it's worth diving into the details of that if you're interested.
It's amazing, like the way they get confessions out of you or get you to do things and say things that aren't true just to get them to leave you alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And the courts generally support that. And like I said, we can do a whole show on it, and I can go over some details and stuff on that, because I think you guys would dig that. Okay, cool. Got some calls coming in here. Of course. Awesome. Let's pick this one up. Travis, hello.
Good evening.
Hey.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And it's good to see you back, Mel.
Thank you.
You're an important part of the show. So I've got a Scientology question to lead with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a policy letter that came out 23 March of 1986. It's titled Suppressive Acts, stat crashers, and blackmail. And does that ring a bell for you, Chris?
Yeah, I believe so. Go ahead and tell me a little bit more about it and make sure it's the one I'm thinking of.
So before I tell you, I gotta say, I call in frequently with these policy letters and stuff. Every single time I look up a new policy, I figure I've seen the stupidest of the stupid already. Nope.
And then you just find more.
And then you find more, yeah.
Yeah, it's a never-ending saga of just absurdity, ridiculousness.
Yeah.
This is like low-functioning teenagers smoking way too much dope and the kind of crap they come up with.
I tell you, I am floored now. Looking back, it's been enough time, enough years have passed. I can't believe I used to read this stuff and think it was sensible. I just can't get in that headspace anymore. I can remember the concepts of how it made sense to me, so I can relate that and talk about that, but I can't go there anymore. It's just too ridiculous.
Well, what I'll point out to you is that I'm assuming that you had a limited view. In other words, you really couldn't see past your nose.
No.
And Scientology was most of what you had fed to you. So it makes sense that, you were tracking with Scientology now that you've deprogrammed. And you've got Melissa there with you to kind of help you through that. So that's
big time.
having another person who cares about you is very important. Okay, so here's the policy. It's
what you got?
Blackmail. So this policy is about people. It says stat crashers. Okay, So basically, the blackmail is staff who wants to avoid ethics to get their own way, and blackmail in the mechanism by which they do this is by crashing their stats.
Yeah,
so
that's ringing some bells. That's ringing some bells for me right now. I think I remember this policy you're talking about.
Right. So what happens is the people don't want. It says in the policy letter that people don't want to show up to muster. So they tell their superiors, basically, F you, I'm going to crash my stats, and I can do better alone than working in this team.
Yep.
So now what are you going to do?
Yep.
Now, basically, the policy letter says this person needs to be immediately declared a suppressive person. Immediately, by whomever. I don't know who that does that. Was this something you encountered? I mean, you remember the policy, but was this something that you remember being implemented?
No.
You dealing with as a, quote, management person?
No, and this actually brings up an opportunity for me to explain something about the policies that I've never talked about before. So let me dump this on you. A lot of policies, not most of them, but a lot of them were originally Sea Org policies. They were flag orders. And then later on, many years later, 10, 20 years later, they get reissued as green on white policy letters. And the difference is that flag orders only apply to the Sea Org. And policy letters apply to every Scientologist across the boards, no matter where they are. So sometimes there was this lag period where you get these very harsh policies like this one, where Hubbard is clearly on a tear. He's pissed off. He's writing something up because somebody said something or did something that pissed him off. And so he writes this policy, but it's a flag order originally, or it's an AIDS order, or it's an OODS item. It's an orders of the day item from when he was on the ship. I mean, they come from lots of different places, and they eventually became policy letters, which sound really super harsh, but nobody takes a policy like that and instantly declares somebody. That doesn't happen. But it would happen back when Hubbard was on the boat, because he had the power to do that. Oh, you're declared. You're out of here. I mean, Hubbard could do that. Miscavige could do that. Certain other RTC people can do that. But otherwise, declaring somebody is a whole lot of paperwork and takes a lot of time. That all make sense?
So it does, and I'd like to point out two things to you. So you're right about this policy letter. It had referenced So all these policy letters for the audience members, when I look at these, and I don't expect anybody to go look these up, they index to other policies. So at the top of the page, it'll say XYZ policy published on date 123.
Yep.
Got a bunch of those.
Yep.
And this was in 1983, and it indexed to a number of other policies that had come out in like 1960s.
Yep.
And so that backs up your claim,
Yeah.
or further illuminates that claim.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, sometimes, and you can watch for this, Travis, by the way, in the future. Sometimes the policy letters specifically say on them, you know, taken from an OODS item or taken from a flag order, or, you know, and converted into a policy letter. Sometimes that's on the issue itself, but it depends on where you get the issue. Sometimes it's not on there.
yeah, so the second part is, look, I was reading through this thing, and like I mentioned earlier, these policies are pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, this read like somebody wrote it when they were feeling some kind of frustration or rage, or, you know, like you're going to bang your fist against the table. And that's what it read like. It read like it was written in a huff.
Yep.
Like, you know, don't send that email if you're pissed off. Wait and breathe. But this would be the telex version of that.
That's right.
Anyway, so I had to really think about, you know, if this is coming from Harvard's really that juvenile.
Oh, all the time. All the time. You never knew with him from one day to the next, sometimes from 1 hour to the next, if you were going to get the salty or you were going to get the sweet. You just never knew. His moods would change on a dime, you know.
Well, I would even take that from a supermodel. So,
right.
So
hear you, man.
Now, all right, I got one more question.
Yeah, what you got?
And this is for the audience, and this is a stupid question. What restaurants and or chains of places will you never use the bathroom in? Now, you can think about this, and I can hang up. I got an answer myself, if you'd like to hear mine.
Sure. What's yours?
Walmart, no Walmart, and then also no truck stop, because I'm scared of both of those places, okay? So whatever you guys have, maybe this wasn't so funny.
Yeah, I would definitely say certain gas stations for sure. All right, Travis, well, thank you. We'll get other answers in the comments.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, take care.
All right, man. Bye-bye. All right, and we've had another caller on hold for a few, so we're going to pick up Jennifer here. Let's, right there.
Okay, so whatever.
Hello, you were on.
Hello?
She's.
Hiya.
Hey. Is this Jennifer?
How are y'all? It is.
Welcome to the show, Jennifer. We are good. How are you this fine day?
I'm quite well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So what can we do for you today?
Melissa, I was wondering, for Chris's story, what's been the most interesting thing for you with his recovery, I guess, or not recovery, but his whole getting out process? What's been the most interesting for you?
I guess just kind of watching his opinions change, you know, like in his reactions to things. I think he was a little more conservative about certain things in the beginning, and it's, you know, he's loosening up and relaxing a little more. And so that's been interesting to see, is that change, and maybe a little political changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I bet. That's one of the things I think that's awesome about marriage, is just watching each other grow.
Big time. And seeing how you bounce off each other and how you affect one another's attitudes over time.
Like your opinions become their opinions and vice versa.
Yeah, it's really interesting that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it always feels good when you're discussing a topic and you actually convert them to your perspective almost, and to see both of you guys do that and compromise over the years.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. When it works best, that's what's happening, I think, is there's an amalgam, you know, and you kind of come to a parody or a level or something somehow on things. And I think it really does require that time, because you have to learn the other person, and then you learn all the reasons why they believe the things they think, or and then it makes a lot more sense to you than when it's just thrown at you out of the blue.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I had one more question for Melissa again. I wondered, so with all of the research that Chris does with all of these different cults and all the topics that he researches and talks about, politics, etc., what's been one of the most, or a couple of the most fascinating to you? Like a specific cult or a specific topic that he's covered?
These are great questions.
Yeah.
I love questions to Melissa. This is awesome.
I found the Nexium cult. Yeah, I found the Nexium cult pretty interesting, because I just couldn't believe it. Like, I didn't know what you have to do to convince someone to get branded. Like that one really threw me off. I was like, what? So I think that was an interesting one for me.
Yeah, that was a great cult to delve into, that's for sure. There was a documentary, I can't remember where it was, but it was an 8-part series. I think it was called The Vow, maybe. Anyway, that was really good. I think you mentioned that y'all watched it a while back.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, that was it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good night, guys.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Awesome. Yes, please call in and ply her with questions, and it will train me to shut the fuck up when I need to. Excellent. Let's pick up this call from Gail, I think. Hello, is this Gail?
Yes, it is. Welcome back, Melissa. And hi, Chris. I had a question about, I think I saw something recently where Miscavige went to the new manager of Clearwater, and he's trying to convince him that they can cooperate with Scientology. And I think this is a really bad idea. Could we write a bunch of letters, everybody, and tell this guy not to listen to Miscavige?
Yes, that would be a very good idea, especially if you're a Clearwater resident. Outside of Clearwater matters, so it's not like it doesn't mean anything if you write in from outside, but especially if you're in that city or zone or area, you need to let that city manager. His name is Jenkins, I think.
I thought it was John something.
Yeah, John Jenkins or something like that.
John Jenkins, maybe?
Yeah, look it up. I'm yeah, it's not John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith. I'm sorry if I'm totally destroying this guy.
I'm just surprised that no one has brought that up, because that's really a danger sign.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to tell them that, we're going to develop all this. They've just got a bunch of empty buildings.
That's right.
Good grief, they're just trying to buy up the whole darn city.
Exactly.
Oh, just one other question real quick. I listened to Christy Render, Mike's wife, and she said that going through OT8 was excruciating. You would think when you got to the top like that, it would be exciting. What do you think made it excruciating?
Okay, from what I've read and heard, I think it was a few things. One, you're kind of trapped on the free winds, so you're stuck there until you're done. And while you're there, literally every single day of the week, you are going to be cornered and dragged into a sales reg cycle, right? Where you're going to get in front of salespeople or
God,
IAS.
that's horrible.
Oh, yeah. Every day they are after you, and you're a captive audience because you're stuck on that little boat. It's not a big ship.
And you can't ask to get off.
No, absolutely not. Right?
You can't find a lifeboat or something.
Exactly. Swim away. I mean, do anything, right? But that's one of the things people. What's that?
I just cannot believe it, because okay, you've already paid thousands and maybe $500,000, and they want more money.
Oh, absolutely. Well, remember, it's all a money-making scam, and two, Scientology is about making the able more able. And what is that able keyword code for? Money, 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 right? So it's
Money.
all about the Benjamins. So.
Well, I guess I'm a degraded person then.
Oh, yeah, we all are. No, we're so degraded. just amongst us DBs.
Oh, well, have a great night, you guys, and good to see you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, cool. And also to add to that, so you have the pressure of the daily sales and stuff. You also have, before you can get onto OT8, you have the eligibility requirements. Every OT level requires that you be eligible for that OT level. In other words, you've jumped through all the security hoops that Scientology needs you to jump through so that they'll trust you with this information, and you're not going to go run off to the internet and spill the beans. And so they sec check you, the confessionals, right? This stuff I've been studying. And that can go on for weeks all by itself. So you go there to get onto OT8, but you can't get onto OT8 because you got to spend weeks getting regged for money and getting through sec checks so that you can do the OT8. Then you finally get the OT8, and it takes like a day or two to get through it. And then they finally let you go home, right? So you've been there for weeks to do something that took you a couple days. And that's one of the reasons why people have said, those who have come out of Scientology talking about that experience, almost one for one, those are the things that they talk about. So that's what I can say about that. And it really is quite something, because you'd think you make it all the way to the top of the bridge and you've given all this money and you think you're going to be this VIP and they're finally going to, roll out the red carpet for you and everything's going to be wonderful. And it's the exact opposite. All they've done is set you up for more and more and more abuse. So anyway, I do want to back up what Gail was saying, though, about writing to the city manager out there in Clearwater. I've trashed him on Twitter, but it's not, I want to have Aaron back on the show before the election so that we can get more from him on his candidacy, on the city council race and all that. So I'll be inviting him back on before too long here. And we have another call in the queue.
All right.
Hello.
Yes, a while back, I saw this. Are you there?
Yeah, we're here, man. Yep. What's up, Mark?
Well, okay. I was watching the screen. So,
yes.
A while back, I saw this redneck hick, scream about how great the United States is, and thinking, well, the United States is so great. Why do we let the scavengers of this country commit one heinous crime after another?
It's a good point.
And when we turn a blind eye to it, strictly because it's some religious crap.
That's right. Or because it's some money crap.
Mm-hmm.
Money is an amazing influencer around Scientology too.
Yeah, and Scientology, the people that lobby for Scientology and other cults, I don't know how those people can sleep at night.
Well, yeah, they're in a very different headspace and they're operating on a different moral system, and that's how they sleep at night. If I'm really going to be honest about it, that's how it happens. I don't quite get it either, because it's obviously not something I would be part of anymore. But yeah.
Just not too long ago, I was driving by a Jehovah's Witness, or so-called churches, and somebody had spray painted cult on the side of the building.
Wow. Well, I don't know that that's a real good idea. I definitely am not down for committing crimes or vandalism or anything against churches or organizations. I think the law works when we can get it to work. I agree with the first thing you said, because we do allow too much latitude in this country with abusers and manipulators and predators, and we do need to crack down on that. It's hard to do, but we need to do it. So I agree with you on that one, Mark. I've got another call coming in, so I'm gonna let you go and pick this one up, though. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for calling in.
Okay.
Great point.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, it is. That's an important one.
Yeah.
We are too lax, and we've gone over all the reasons why for that here many times in terms of the legal shenanigans and the private investigators and all the other nonsense and influence peddling Scientology gets up to, and all these other groups do too. But also remember, we're dealing with government agencies, by definition inefficient, bureaucracies, and
stalking isn't something that gets taken seriously.
exactly.
So
Exactly. And that's a truth. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of those reasons make sense and some of them don't. But regardless of those reasons, the bottom line is it doesn't get taken seriously. And that's where victims are created. And that's a problem. So we do need to do something about that stuff. All right. Let us take this other call we have. I do Charlotte, I think. Let's see what we have here. Hello, you are on.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Charlotte. Do I have your name right there?
How are you doing? You do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the show. What can we help you with today?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So this is something that you absolutely don't have to talk about. I'm sure you have talked about many times. I've been watching you for a really long time.
Cool.
And I really love your stuff. I love the way you cover things. So I was just wondering, and again, don't have to answer this, but do you feel any guilt for those years of recruiting? And if so, do you do anything actively to try to, I guess, atone for that? I'm not a religious person at all, but do you get what I'm saying? Is the show part of that? And
Right. Okay. No, it's not. I do feel guilt. I have felt guilt. I have felt intense degrees of blame, shame, and regret over all of my activities as a Sea Org member and a Scientologist. I have addressed this publicly before. I have publicly apologized and privately apologized to individuals that I've harmed or hurt that I was able to get in touch with, or vice versa. I have always gone out of my way to try to do that with people that I wronged or harmed or who felt that I had done that.
Right.
Interesting, because you forget stuff. And then people come into your life and remind you, and you're like, "Oh shit, I forgot about that."
Remember that time you did that thing?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, 27 years. I don't remember the blow by blow.
No.
Right.
So so it's totally fine with me that people call me up or contact me, and they have, and remind me of some of the nasty. I have also, I will say, for many years, and this is something I struggle with to this day, but I think it's getting better. Is the arrogant attitude, the conceit of being a Scientologist that carried with me after I left for a long time.
Right.
And I was very righteous on some things, and I was way overboard on some things, and I definitely alienated some people doing that too. So I've done my best to try to, you try to move on, but once you've alienated somebody, you've alienated them. They're not listening to you anymore. So what are you going to do? You do your best and you try to move on and try to do better the next day. And so that's kind of been my attitude about it as I've been going. But I don't now feel, I feel like I've come to a point of acceptance on my experience where I no longer feel the righteous anger or guilt about the experience. I've kind of processed it to that degree. And now my work, while my work was initially about making up for some of that, I've moved on past that now. And now this work is just because it's the right thing for me to be doing.
Totally. Okay, awesome. And I want you just to say again that I'm not calling in are you here? I need an apology. This
oh, no,
not,
of course.
What I'm just curious, because you don't have anything to apologize in my view or anything, or I'm not trying to get you to say something. I was just curious because you seem like a really, really good guy with a really good head on his shoulders. And I'm sure you've thought about this stuff a lot, So I was just, of course. So I was just curious, and you don't have to talk about it anymore. I just thank you for answering my call and,
you bet.
Answering my question.
You bet. Thanks for calling in, Charlotte. Feel free to call in anytime.
Thank you to both of you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Great call. Yeah, I love stuff like that. Because it's real, it is. And as we say, the Victims and victimizers. We got to be both.
Mm-hmm.
We got to be both. And once you come to a recognition of that, I thought that was a really big step, personally. I thought that was a massive step forward. And I know people who've been out of Scientology and other groups for years, decades longer than me, who haven't quite yet realized that. I'm not saying they have to realize that about themselves, but even about anybody else. It's just all about being a victim. And, and I get that. I definitely get that, why that happens. But over time, you expect a person to be able to move on from that.
Well, it's just like anything in life. Sometimes you're the jerk and sometimes somebody else is the jerk.
That's right.
And you have to come to terms with that. It's like, we're not perfect. Sometimes you're the asshole.
Exactly. Exactly. So it goes both ways with that, and that's one of the tragedies, actually. I mean, I think that's a good word for it. It really is kind of a tragedy of that experience, is that you are both sides of the coin. Because you become this sort of follower person who has to comply, has to conform. Ugh, awful stuff. Okay, and we did talk about this, didn't we?
No.
Oh, we did not. Okay, I wanted to tell you guys one other thing too, just since it was on my mind, and we don't have any calls in the queue right now. Plus, we're moving into the latter half of the show.
Yeah.
So anybody who calls in, it's cool, but we're gonna make it short. I wanted to talk about the new Batman movie because the promos are going crazy.
Yeah.
And it should be coming next month. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because we like the Joker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Joker was a good movie.
I mean, I have it on DVD now.
Yeah, right. We own it.
I need to watch that again.
It's good. It's kind of one of those movies you want to go back to every now and again.
Once in a while. Yeah, you don't watch that every Saturday.
No, of course not. Sometimes you're the dog and sometimes you're the hydrant.
Yes.
Henny, you are so awesome.
Perfect.
Okay, so the reason I am personally so pumped about this Matt Reeves Batman is because years and years ago, before the whole Marvel blow up, or maybe around the time Marvel and Iron Man were starting, or maybe Nolan's Batman, was where I first sort of conceived of this idea of an even darker, even more realistic version of Batman. And that's what I've kind of seen in this movie. Not fully realistic, but I didn't see any supernatural elements. I didn't see any crazy gadgetry. I didn't see any nutso CGI. In the trailers for this one, it looked like it was much grittier, darker, street level kind of stuff. And yet at the same time, dealing with, yes, I know. Do we need another Batman? I'm explaining why we do.
Always.
But as a one-off, as a little contained thing. That's not necessarily like the DC Universe Batman. This is another conception of him of there's some hypocrisy with Batman. And this movie kind of deals with some of that. It's like Batman represents justice and this justice system, but what about a situation in the real world where that justice system is as corrupt as the criminals? Now what? Now what are you doing? Now who are you really fighting for, and what are you really doing? And that's a deep, not super deep, but it's deep enough for comic books that I'm interested in how they address the answer to that question, because that appears to be one of the questions that they're sort of throwing up with this movie, and I'm kind of there. Never enough Batman.
Exactly.
And I'm down for all of them. I mean, Keaton was good. The only one who really, really, really sucked was George Clooney.
Yeah, and he even admits to that. So.
Yeah, he apologized for it. Like, he publicly apologized for ruining Batman, and it's not like it was all on him.
No, that movie was just
at all.
Didn't have any of the right elements.
No, not at all. Oh god, those movies were just so over the top awful. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Really looking forward to it. One thing about Batman is that Batman is still Batman despite numerous incarnations of him. He is a character that every generation can have their own version of, and he's still Batman at the core of who he is. Superman is a lot more constant. He's the same guy, and he should be. He's kind of this other kind of character that serves a different purpose. Batman is justice, and Batman and justice is a different thing for every generation, I think, because it's so cultural in our value sets and how we think and look at the world, and it changes so much from time to time to time that Batman needs to change with that. Superman personifies a different ideal. In fact, he personifies ideals, like things that are not supposed to change: truth, honesty, justice, things like that. Superhuman, at a superhuman level. So that's kind of how I see those things. Didn't mean to get into a big thing about comic books, but I'm just excited about Batman. And before the show, the trailer came on, and I was like, oh, I got to talk about this. Okay, so yeah, bat nipples.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Oh,
so unnecessary.
oh.
I mean, they're there underneath the suit, but you don't need to know they're there.
No, definitely not. And I would not expect any of that on Batgirl or Batwoman either.
Yeah.
Don't need it. Not there. Should not be part of that. It's sexualizing those characters, which you're doing with which you would be doing with the female more than the male, I think.
Yeah.
On that. But
yeah.
I'm just, since I went there, I'm gonna say that's a bad thing to do. That's not what those characters exist for.
Silly. There's other ways to make somebody sexy.
That's right. That's right. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. Did you hear about that? Just reading Bud 123's comment about pride organizations excluding cops.
I don't know much about it.
Yeah, don't have any comment on that, really. Just that's kind of all I know. I have not yet watched any of the Book of Boba Fett. Taking my time getting there, really into the paper and kind of some other entertainment stuff we do. So haven't gotten there yet. I'm not super pumped about Boba Fett, so I'm taking my time getting there. I am anxious for the next season of The Mandalorian, though. Mm-hmm. And I am curious if those storylines will collide in any way or if they're going to be completely separate things. But yeah, I'm... just for whatever reason, I don't know. For some reason, Boba Fett just doesn't appeal to me as much. I can't really put my finger on why. It's just the character was never a character I empathized or felt anything about in the Star Wars series, except as a bad guy who died a death he needed to die. So coming back and making him this anti-hero character, I'm just not totally sold yet. So I'm not on board. Mandalorian, on the other hand, I'm totally sold on. The humanity of that character came through right away, and I was completely connected and could not get enough. So that's kind of how I think about that. Oh my God, that would be crazy. Luke and Han Solo and Leia show up in the last episode. Please not. Okay, so we should start wrapping up, I guess. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Let's we got our cards.
Alrighty.
All right, so let's hit the cards. Really appreciated the calls tonight, guys.
Yeah.
Really good calls coming in, and would very much like to grow this show, this one, as well as this channel in 2022. So please do not only like the videos that we put up and engage with them in the comments like you guys are. That is awesome for my channel. But also please share my content around with your friends, family, or contacts. And maybe they'll want to be part of this too. All right. Pick a card, any card. These are our critical thinking cards. Again, this is not a sponsorship thing, but...
Bandwagon.
Okay, bandwagon. All right, so your fallacy is bandwagon. So these are cognitive biases and logical fallacies, right? Reasons we don't think so good. And bandwagon fallacy is appealing to popularity or the fact that many people do something as an attempted form of validation. Okay, so appealing to popularity or validation. Seamus pointed a finger at Sean and asked him to explain how so many people could believe in leprechauns if they're only a silly old superstition. Sean wondered how so many people could believe in things based on popularity. You see the point, right? You're getting on the bandwagon. You're just joining in with everybody else. Oh, thank you very much for that, Charlotte, for that super chat. Very much appreciated. So bandwagon, just because. So if everybody jumps off a cliff, are you going to? Well, some people do. And that's called a bandwagon fallacy. So watch for that and beware, especially rampant on social media, which I'm becoming more and more and more aware of, by the way, is really representative of only a sliver of our population. And I read an interesting article today.
And not the most mature one.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And
I'm guilty of it too, so don't worry about it. But
right? Let's just say our social media selves don't always reflect our best selves. Which is one of the reasons I was happy to disengage from Facebook. Yeah. And I'm on Twitter, but sometimes I really regret the stuff I send on there. But at least I get to share some cult stuff and I get to share some dad jokes. But I just want to remind everybody, social media is not reality. What you see on social media is a sliver of the population, and it is not a representative sample of that population.
Nope.
It's just not. Right, and we get really twisted, weird ideas, and this is me eating crow in a little bit too, because I've gone down those rabbit holes, and I've got content in the past that is me spouting and spewing and ranting and raving because of the crap I read on social media.
Same.
You know. Yeah. So we really, so I'm really trying to practice what I preach here, really trying to apply these cards to my life, really trying to be a better thinker and be a better social personality and be a better, I don't want to use the word influencer. That's really not what I'm trying to do. I'm just educator, maybe educator. I think that's really my thing. So there you go. Oh yeah, this article today was about this fact. I don't have a link to the article right now, but it was about this fact, and it was a pretty fair and balanced article too, about the fact that there is a social media population that believes in certain things and is pushing certain things, and it tends to be fairly liberal because the conservatives tend to get pushed off a little bit. But in the real world, you've got a silent majority of people who might be more moderate conservative leaning. And that's how people vote, including people on the left when nobody's looking. Right? When it comes time to have that housing development built in the middle of your neighborhood, the left guys come out as much as the right guys with, not in my neighborhood. Right? I want that. I want that housing. I want that low-income housing for those people. But I want it somewhere else, not where it's inconveniencing me. And that's sort of the two-sidedness of that a little bit. Anyway, that was what I was reading about. Do I still speak with Owen? Oh, you mean Telltale? Or anyway, I'm not sure which Owen you're referring to, because there's also Chris Owens, who is a Scientology guy, a writer, historian guy. Anyway, I do. If you're talking about Owen, the Telltale Atheist, yes, we actually saw each other at Faithless Forum this summer. Okay, yeah, Telltale, yeah. I saw him down in Austin at the conference he helped put on there, the Atheist, what was it? The Faithless Forum. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed going down there and seeing him and Seth and everybody down there. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up.
All right.
Yeah, okay, podcast tomorrow, John and me, 2 hours, critical thinking, human predators, what could be better? And Sunday, you will have a recorded Q&A show as usual. All right, guys, thanks for being part of this, and I will see you guys later.
Good night.